sorry.
I was going to say, this is my 5th period class at Relanda High School. They're all 9th graders, and they've been actually very excited. They were hoping to see you earlier, like Friday, but I had to tell them that we had to do this Saturday. We're not all 9th graders. Oh, we have a couple older kids, like some seniors too, kind of sitting.
Oh, wow.
They are doing research, so they're going to check it out. Also, they help me with crowd control.
Okay. Yeah, it's always good to get some riot police in there. Well, very great to see you all. Now, I have to admit, when you called in, you kind of caught me unawares, because I was, like, just hanging out playing Farmville, and this sounds super nerdy. So I was, like, harvesting some virtual artichokes, and then I hear the sound, and I run and jump up, and I, like, yeah. Well, anyway, I'm very glad that you connected, even if you did disturb me in the middle of harvesting artichoke crops on Farmville. And, no, I'm joking. I had finished harvesting most of them. But before I delve into a giant treatise on the state of my crops, I wanted to introduce research skills made easy. So some of your classmates have already seen this, but you might be wondering why a 12-year-old is teaching you today. Well, my name is Adora, and at the age of 7, I published my first book, Blind Fingers, Master the Tools of Learning Through the Joy of Writing. And more recently, I published a second book, Dancing Fingers, with my older sister, Adora, who happens to be in 9th grade as well. So research skills, as you may already know, are things that are very important, and they help you live your life to the fullest. So, I'm hearing some paper crumbling, so if you could tone that down a bit. Sorry, is there an announcement going?
No, it's the sound is kind of going in and out. I think I just thought the other day. I don't know. Are you wearing a microphone or?
No, actually, I just have a microphone. Like it's I'll try to put it up closer a bit. But is this any better?
Okay, yeah. It would just go in and out the other day, and it was going in and out a little bit now, just a few minutes ago. So.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
I think that's better.
Hopefully so. Yeah. Well, thanks for letting me know about that. So, on to applications of research. One of the reasons that we bother using research is because it's crucial in many aspects of both academic, personal, and business life. So, pretty much, research is everywhere. You can't escape it. And research skills help you live your life to the fullest. In order to build such life skills, we practice research at school by working on essays and other research projects. So I know that you guys are working on your career reports. So when you write a paper for school, you need to use research to find information, evidence, and supporting details. But you've also probably used research in your own life to determine things like the best kind of shoe to wear or what brand of pet food to buy. Then there's research in business, which you might use to determine where a customer base is located, business growth, profit margins, and countless other things. So how do you use research? Any ideas? Who'd like to help me? How do you use research?
Hey, when did you guys do? Antonio?
The internet?
So you might use the internet for research, but what's the end goal? What are you trying to do when you're researching?
Trying to find what I was researching.
You're trying to find out more about a topic? Yeah. So one thing you might use research for is if you have an assignment in school, then you would do research to find out more about a topic. So for instance, I was helping my sister with her social studies homework. Actually, that took out like half of the entire Sunday yesterday, pretty much. Anyway, and so going online and looking for resources, that was definitely research. So you might use it for your homework. You might use it for personal things, like looking at clothes and seeing what kind of fabrics in it, or food, the nutrition facts, all that kind of stuff, that's all research. So today we'll learn how to find research from both print and online sources, how to organize and use that research effectively, how to evaluate the source of information, and cite our sources. So, step number 1 is finding a topic. Now, I know that many of you guys already have your topic, which is your career, but also, let's say if you have to write a research paper and you have to think of a topic. So recently, I had to do that actually. I have to write a 6 to 8 page research paper in class. And so to find a topic, you might ask yourself what subjects am I interested in? What subjects have I been studying recently? What interests you most about a particular subject? Is there anything you wonder about or are puzzled with regard to that subject? So the subject that I chose for my research paper was the effects of earthquakes on other, the geological effects of earthquakes and how it caused ripple effects, like for instance tsunamis and stuff like that. So, and the reason I chose that topic was because of all the earthquakes recently in the news, so that I found that pretty relevant. Now once you have your topic, whether it's careers or earthquakes, then you might want to start researching from print sources, which means basically books. So here's tip number 1. Use your local library to find books on your topic, and don't be afraid to ask for help from your librarians. So when you're looking for information, your local or school library is a great place to start. Now libraries will probably have a computer catalog. If it's old books, it might be in a card catalog, but most likely a computer catalog. And if you want to find books for relevant information, then you conduct searches on that catalog using keywords. So tip number 2, use a catalog. Now, for instance, I have an example. My own local library is part of the King County Library System. So if I have this catalog over here, I can search a catalog, and you have different options. You might search for keywords, you might search with what the title begins with, title keywords, author name, author keywords. There are all these options. So let's say I do author name last first. Then I would be able to search for an author, or I could do keywords. So a catalog offers you basically ways to sift through all the books, because if you walk into a library and it has millions and millions of books, then the catalog helps you make that understandable.
So library and catalog.
Yeah. So one tip is use keywords. So you can search by a keyword. Would anyone like to tell me, what is a keyword?
I bet you she's using a smart vocabulary. A word that's the key to the sentence?
Okay, Jake, can you say it a little bit louder?
Sure, sorry, what is a keyword?
You know what, I told them about the delay that they're not used to, okay? It takes a second. So Jay, go ahead and say what you said before. Say it again.
I forgot what I said.
Oh, you said, now I
A word that is a keyword.
A word that's the key to the sentence, that's what I said.
Yeah, pretty much. A keyword is fairly obvious. It's one of those great words where it's just like a key word. Yeah, it's like the really important word. It's the key to the sentence. Very good. So if you have a topic like criminal justice, that might be the keywords you would search on. So library catalog search tip number 1, use keywords. So you would list keywords to search for books on your topic. Keywords could include a title, author, and subject. So who would like to tell me, what is a career you are interested in pursuing?
I want to be a mechanic.
Okay.
Why do you want to be a mechanic?
A mechanic?
Maybe a band.
Okay, so if you're interested in being a mechanic, then mechanic, that would be your keyword. Or you might also search for something like cars or car repair, something like that. Those would be some other keywords. So here's an activity. On your piece of paper, write down some keywords for your topic. So if your topic is mechanics, then some keywords might include mechanic, car repair, all of that stuff. If you're interested in becoming a break dancer, then that would probably be your keywords. Spinning around on your head a lot. Yeah, that would be keywords. So write down a few keywords for your topic, 1 or 2, and then raise your hand to share them with the class. And the reason that you use keywords is because those are really helpful in finding books on your topic.
Write it on the back of the paper again, Chris. Okay, so it's so far library, catalog, and
Hey.
Okay.
so what? Write down 2 types of career jobs, and yeah, but be appropriate because you know your mom may want to like put this on the back of the open house. On the back of the paper. I might share these papers with the open house, so we do that on all of your Okay.
What's open now?
We have open house on Thursday. So all our parents are gonna come, so I was gonna share what they're doing. You know what? Let's see. There's another name for garbage man. I think it's
Waste disposal?
industrial waste engineer or something cool like that.
themselves mailmen or mailwomen, they call themselves postal workers. So there's like the official name, postal workers, and then there's kind of the informal, what everybody else calls them. Yeah, so raise your hand if you'd like to share some of the keywords you've written down.
What? Okay, can you guys, oh, Kim. Photographer.
Photographer, great. And
Photography would be.
so you would search photographer, photography, those would be some great keywords. Wonderful. You can also include related words. So if you have synonyms or things that relate to it, if you're writing about threatened polar bears, some related words might be global warming, wilderness, threatened, or endangered animals. So library catalogs, really helpful. Use keywords, use related words. Now, you can also just browse the shelves, walk on through the shelves for relevant books. Once you found a book that has information that's useful or relevant, then check the bibliography for other relevant works. Does anyone guess what is a bibliography?
Bibliography, we looked at this when we were looking at some sample test questions. Do you guys remember what bibliography was?
So, a
Can
bibliography,
you answer that?
yes, a bibliography, let's say I have this book, The Middle East. Now, it has lots of great information, and I want to see where they got this information. What were their sources? So I might head on to the very back of this giant thick book, and it has further reading, it has index, and it has acknowledgements. So in the acknowledgements, I might find information about some of the books that they've used. I would find information about the picture credits. So the bibliography or acknowledgements often lists what books, what websites, what people the author of a book got the information from. So bibliography is handy for that reason, because you can find other books. So it might be another reason that you would check the bibliography.
What would be another reason you would use a bibliography?
And a bibliography is a list of the sources.
Maybe for more information, like on the topic that you're looking at, that might give you an idea of some other titles of articles or books you can look for.
Yeah, let's say that you find a book about photography, and and it's a really good book, and it gives you some information, but you're still looking for more. So you flip over to the bibliography, and it has a list of the books that they use for sources. So then you're able to go to one of those books, find more. You're able to look at that bibliography, find more books. So the bibliography is kind of like a roadmap. Once you found one book, it can lead you off in different directions to find more books. Another reason that bibliographies are important is because you want to check to make sure those sources are legit. And a bibliography should have a fair number of sources that have relevant information. So check the list of sources to make sure it's not plagiarized, to make sure the information is accurate, and to find other books that relate to your topic. Now, if the subject of your research relates to current events or past news items like the 2008 presidential elections, then you might want to look in an index of periodicals or magazines and newspapers. So you could, for instance, if you're looking for voters' reactions to a campaign stop or whatever, you might look in a newspaper from that area. Using an index. What is an index?
It's your finger.
Yeah, it's a finger.
Hector, what is it? What is an index? Can you tell? If I ask you to look up something, what is the index? You have to back it up with information to find it.
It is your finger.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you could hear it. The ladies in the back said it in unison. Did you hear what they said?
That is where you find the information. I think that's what I heard anyway, right?
Yeah, and in the back of the book.
Yeah, in the back of the book. Very good. So in my trusty book about the Middle East, which is very heavy, so I do not want to manually go through every single of these 1,000 pages looking for something about Achaemenid art. I would rather go to the index and find Achaemenid art right there, and then I know exactly what page to go to. Did I pronounce that wrong? I bet I did. Okay. Yeah, okay, so if you have a giant thick book and you have no idea how to pronounce something, then you might go to the index, look it up, find the page number, go to that page number, and we're going to
So
pronounce it.
don't worry.
So, an index is the alphabetical reference list giving the location of where a subject is mentioned in the text. So, books are organized into two broad categories, fiction and nonfiction, as you already know. Nonfiction sources are probably the best for your research, unless you're researching like a fiction book. So, it might be sorted under the Dewey Decimal System, the Library of Congress system, by author name. So, books are where you really want to start with your research because they offer lots of great resources. And you do want to cite at least one print source, usually, in your research. So knowing how to navigate and find relevant books can be really important for your research. Remember to use catalog, use keywords, use those relate words, and check the bibliography. Now, on to researching from online sources. So raise your hand if you think you do most of your research on the internet. I see a few raised hands. A lot of the research that we do happens on the internet because it's pretty accessible. I mean, you just have a computer, you go to Google and you type something in. So researching from online sources is an important subject. Now, guys, did you know that Britney Spears was killed in a car accident? Or that robots were used to win the Spanish-American War of 1898? Raise your hand if you believe me.
I think that's true.
I see a few brave raised hands, but most of you don't believe me, which is really offensive. It's got to be true. I found it on the internet. Well, as you may have heard, not everything on the internet is true. So what do you think? If not everything on the internet is true, should we still use the internet for research?
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yes.
Yes, and I hear sometimes. Well, the thing is, I think that the internet is kind of like the world. There are some good places and there are some bad places. And I don't think anyone has said the world has bad places, so we're not going to live here. So research is the search for information that allows us to create informed essays, rich stories, winning science projects, and cool blogs and web pages. We research to discover facts. So for example, Mexican bandit and revolutionary Pancho Villa was born in Durango, Mexico. And once we have the facts in place, we research more to add detail to our project. For example, Mexican bandit and revolutionary Pancho Villa was born in Durango, a state of craggy mountains and gorgeous blue skies. So it's not just about finding facts, it's also about finding the details that make those facts interesting. If you follow basic safety rules and learn how to spot tricksters, the internet can provide amazing photographs, source documents such as journal entries and letters, and treasure troves of accurate information. So here's tip number 3. Your most basic and important tool is your search engine. Anyone want to give me an example of a search engine?
Google.
Google, that's right, that's the most famous. Any others?
Bing.
Yahoo, Bing.
Bing.
Mozilla Firefox is actually a browser, which is a little different. But yeah, search engines. So Google, of course, is the most famous search engine, but there are others out there like Yahoo, Bing, and Ask.com. And you choose whichever one you think works best for you. But even if you choose the right search engine, it doesn't guarantee that you'll immediately find all the information you need. Because if anyone's ever run a search on Google or Ask or Bing, you see at the top 1,376,000 results or something. And going through all those pages takes time. So let's pretend that you're writing a research paper on Paris, France, and the French Revolution. So I'm going to go on to Google and search Paris and see what I can get about the French Revolution. So heading over to Google, Paris. Here we go. I get some pictures. It looks like the Arc de Triomphe, Paris Convention, Visitor's Office, Paris Wikipedia, Paris Travel Information, Paris Guide, a picture of Paris Hilton and the Las Vegas Hotel and Casino, Paris Las Vegas Hotel. What is wrong with this search? Well, not all of it might be accurate, but another thing
Paris
is...
Hilton.
Yeah, Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton is what's wrong with this search. And Paris Las Vegas Hotel. I'm looking for information on Paris, France, and the French Revolution. I do not want Paris Hilton involved in this. I do not want the Paris Hotel and Casino involved in this. I don't really want Paris Hilton involved in anything. But So you need to narrow your search. Is that offensive? I'm sorry for Paris Hilton lovers out there.
I don't think there's many.
Okay, I'm glad.
She's a nub.
So
She's a nub.
tip number 4 is narrow your search. Instead of Paris, let's do Paris, France, and get Paris Hilton out of there. Or Paris French Revolution and get everything else to do with Paris, France out of there. So, narrow your search. If you have just one particular thing you're looking for, like Paris and the French Revolution, or Paris cuisine during the French Revolution, just search that. Don't even do a big broad search. Get as specific as you can, and that way you're not going to get a gazillion results. You're going to get 10 or 20 or something like that. Another thing you can do, let's say you're searching about the French Revolution and you only want to return results from history.com because it's like a history website. Then you can do this little trick. You can add cite : blank. So for instance, French Revolution, cite history.com. And then I'll get results returned only from history.com. Or if I want French Revolution from pbs.org, because they've done like shows about it, then I would do cite pbs.org. So if you only want to return results from like one website, maybe one specifically about Paris and the French Revolution, then do cite : whatever. Yeah, so that can be a handy tool. Tip number 5 is you can also try searching a trusted website such as pbs.org. And now last time, then they were asking why PBS, and sometimes TV channels, if they do shows, if they have information about certain periods of history, they can be good ones. Britannica Encyclopedia, some other good websites for research include NPR, BBC, and NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So once you find a web page or article that contains information that may be useful to you, it's time to play detective. A good detective runs background checks on people involved in a case, and as a researcher, you'll want to do the same. So once you find a good web article, type the author's name into a search engine, or maybe look on Amazon.com to see if they've written any books about your topic. So here's some strategies. Try clicking on author's name and type the author's name in the search engine and see what comes up. So why would I want to investigate an author?
Figure out information. You know more about that person. To know about that person.
Because you like him.
Because I like them, yeah, totally. Because I read their article and I fell in love with them and I just really want to stalk them. Yeah, that's totally why. No, actually,
Like as if.
no, not quite. But let's say I read this article, The Food of Durango, Mexico's Wild West. That's where I got the information. Now, it says by Karen Scraper. So I can click, there's a link. And it'll take me to an About Karen Scraper. It says Senior Food Editor for Mix Connect. And that credential might be good for you. It says she's written food and travel articles for the news in Mexico City and the Antigua Times in Guatemala, and is the food editor of the internet magazine Mexico Connect, for which she writes a monthly column. She is the author of Take This Chile and Stuff It, Authentic Mexican Chiles. I'm probably pronouncing this like that. Okay. So, here's some credentials. If you want to back this up, you can go to Google and paste her name, Karen Scraper, and it says Karen Scraper, author on Mexico, Amazon.com, the cuisine of Puebla. So from this, what do you learn about Karen Scraper? Not necessarily. She might write about Mexico, but she doesn't have to be Mexican. What you learn is that she's written books on the topic, that she has written many articles for many different publications on the topic. What does that show you?
Sorry, not you.
That she's a famous author.
Maybe that she's a famous author, but also that she knows about her topic. If all of these different publications, her website wants to write a column, if she's published books, that shows that she probably knows a little bit about her topic. So researching authors is good to make sure that your authors have the credentials, are authorized really to write on that topic. So for instance, do not trust what I write on AP Calculus. Do not, because for one, I have not ever had AP Calculus, and for the second thing, I haven't really published books on the topic. I don't know anything about AP Calculus, so you want to check to make sure of all those things, just to make sure the author is qualified to write on that topic. So that's tip number 6. Investigate the author. Run those background checks. If someone has a really common name, like Anthony Wright, you might type in plus Mexico. You might do Karen Hirsch-Grable plus Mexico to see and see that topic. So tip number 7 is investigate the website. It's not good enough just to investigate people who wrote the articles on the website. You have to investigate the website itself. So some websites that you might visit that are trusted websites would be like PBS or the Library of Congress. But tip number 8 is that websites created by organizations or people that are unfamiliar to you are more questionable. So if you've never heard of this organization and it sounds a little...
websites like .orgs.
Yes, and .org, that's another thing. .org and .gov are usually pretty good ones. Org is organization, so it's a non-profit. It's not trying to make money off you. .gov is government, and so, well, it's probably not trying to, like, sell you anything. So, you can take a look at the domain .org, .gov, and we'll talk about that a little more later as well. Now, tip number 8 is websites created by organizations or people that are unfamiliar to you are more questionable. If you've never heard of it, or if it sounds kind of weird, do a little more investigative work. So, questions to ask while investigating a website. Is the grammar and punctuation correct? Why do you think I might ask that? Is the grammar and punctuation correct?
That way they can understand.
Yeah, because it's a whole lot easier to understand the information if it's correct. But another thing is, if people don't care enough, if people don't care about their grammar and punctuation enough to make sure it's correct, they may not care about the facts enough to make sure they're correct either. Does the information match what you already know? This is important because if you know that 2 plus 2 equals 4, and you go to a website that says 2 plus 2 equals 17, that website is a no-no. Has the website been updated recently? Why is updating recently important?
Because that fact could be like 30 years ago.
Yeah, it might be from really old. So let's say you're doing some research on a career like engineering, or maybe a new career that's just developed like green funeral directing, and a website that's say 10 years old might not have information about those careers on it, or the information might be outdated. So website being updated recently is pretty important for information that is constantly changing. What are the organization's goals? What are they trying to do? Are they trying to sell you stuff? Are they trying to make money off ads? Are they trying to promote learning? Does the website include sources such as a bibliography or footnotes that tells where the web authors obtain their information? So, just a few questions asked while investigating a website, and try to find yes answers to quite a few of these. Now, the About or About Us section of a website can also provide important clues about an organization's goals. Now, let's put this into practice. There is a great website called All About Explorers that I want to show you. So, if I'm doing some research on an explorer, we have explorers A to Z. So, who do you think I should take a look at? We have this big list: Vasco da Gama, Sir Francis Drake, Christopher Columbus, Samuel de Champlain, Jacques Cartier, John Cabot, Vasco Nunez de Balboa, Henry Hudson, Juan Ponce de Leon, Lewis and Clark. Who should we do? Lewis and Clark. Okay, let's take Lewis and Clark. So, here we go. Lewis and Clark. Meriwether Lewis and William Clark were born simultaneously in neighboring counties in Virginia on August 1st, 1773. Oddly enough, it was precisely 30 years and 30 days after their birth that they began what would become their legacy, the expedition that today bears their name. But all of that was to come later in the varied and fascinating parallel lives that each of them led. Though they grew up within spitting distance of each other, once when he was 9, Clark was in fact reprimanded by Lewis's father regarding a suspicious pile of watermelon seeds near the Lewis's yard gnome. They attended different schools, different churches, and only knew each other in passing. In middle school, both students were good students, their favorite class being the exploratory period. They were both entranced by the voyages of such famous explorers as Christopher Columbus, Henry Hudson, Ferdinand Magellan, and in 1795 they became the charter subscribers to the National Geographic magazine. Both were so mesmerized by the stunning color photographs in the glossy publication that they determined, completely separately, to become world-famous explorers. That dream didn't become reality right away, however. It wasn't until 1803 when Thomas Jefferson saw an intriguingly brief posting by Napoleon Bonaparte on Craigslist for a large tract of land. For sale, Louisiana, tract of land in the middle of North America, acreage unknown, contains the fourth longest river in the world. Alright, I think that's enough. Raise your hand if you think this is all true. I see like, oh my, wow. Did you guys hear, let's see, Napoleon Bonaparte posted sign on Louisiana purchase on Craigslist. Lewis and Clark were the charter subscribers to National Geographic. You know, those are a few clues. I would say that does not match the information I already know. For instance, I know that National Geographic is not that old, and Craigslist is not quite that old either. So, you can spot things like that, and remember what I said about the About or About Us section of a website can provide important clues on an organization's goals. Well, let me click on About and see what we get. About this site. Because we wanted to make a point about finding useless information, even in a site which looked at first to be fairly well put together, all of the Explorer biographies here are fictional. So, there you go. About or About Us can be a lifesaver, pretty much. So, another thing that we found here. So yeah, the grammar and punctuation was fine, but the information did not match what we already knew, so that would be one thing. What are the organization's goals? So we found that in the About Us section. And I didn't see a bibliography or footnotes. So those are some things to watch out for. Moving along here. So why is it important to understand an organization's goals and researching on the web?
That's a question that's on your paper, you guys.
Right.
Wesley, why do you think it's important to understand organizations' goals when you're researching?
If not, you don't know the problems.
Okay.
Well, one reason is, let's say, and I've used this example before, but if you're looking for pet food information, what kind of pet food would be best for my dog? And you go to the IAMS dog food website. What is the IAMS dog food website's purpose?
To sell dog food?
To sell dog food. So if I am looking for what dog food would be the best for my pet, and I go to the IAMS pet food website, they are trying to sell me their dog food. So their information is going to be biased. It's going to be leaning toward their own pet food. They're going to say our pet food is the best, whether it is or not. So that's why it's important to understand an organization's goals. Are they trying to sell you stuff? If you're looking for information that's objective, that's not biased, and you go to a website that's trying to sell you that particular product, they're going to be biased in favor of that. So, organization's goals, understand. There are many reasons to create a website, like providing information, sell products or services, entertaining, convincing, or sometimes all of the above. So you need to understand these purposes and how they relate to your research. So domain names such as .org and .com can help us decipher a website's purpose. So here's an activity. Guess the domain suffix. Raise your hand and tell me what each of these...
Adora?
Yes?
I'm so sorry. I actually have some questions when as the kids were listening, I made them some kernel notes, and one of them I asked is, what does the word bias mean? I'm not sure if they know what bias means.
Oh, okay, yeah. Who would like to guess? Anybody know what bias means? Bias.
Who knows what bias? Okay, Kim, can you tell? In favor of something. In favor of something?
In favor of something, yeah, it could mean either I'm leaning in favor of something or I'm against something. So if, like the IAMS website, it is going to be in favor of their own pet food. If my sister and I are arguing, which we do all the time, then our parents come by. If my mom says, Adora, you are so great, and your side is just great, then she would be like biased in favor of me. Actually, she kind of is. But so bias is basically leaning one way or the other and being really strongly in favor or strongly against something. So, for instance, do any of you, like maybe when you were really little or something, did you say, or maybe still today, did you say, I hate my vegetables, I'm not going to eat my vegetables?
I did.
I love my vegetables.
Oh, congrats! But you were like probably the only little kid in the world who says that. Okay, so for those of you who said I hate my vegetables, that's bias. That's bias, and which makes me a very, very biased person. and I'm biased in pretty much every. We all have a little bias. We all have the sides that we take. If we think one movie is so great and one movie is so awful, or if we really like, or if we really hate Hannah Montana or something like that, then yeah, that would be biased. So you can find bias by looking sometimes at the domain suffix. So for instance, .edu, .com, .org, .gov, .mil. So what are some other examples of bias that you might have in your own life? Any ideas?
I don't know.
Okay, Josh.
What's the question?
Oh, you guys are pointing at each other. No, I'll send you. Okay.
I'm making you some.
Well, if I don't know, example of like bias would be if you go on like you were saying, like if you were going on a car website like Toyota, of course they're gonna tell you how great Toyota is. They're not gonna tell you that Toyotas have problems. So I was thinking like certain websites are gonna tell you how great their product is, so that would be towards in favor. And then if you're looking at a commercial type, like you have the .com, that would be something biased because you're trying to sell you the product.
Yeah, and let's say that you really, really, really hate Miley Cyrus. Then you might be biased against watching a movie that has her in it, right? I mean, I'm not saying anything, like personal, but that would be an example of bias. Or if you really don't like a certain band, then you might be biased against listening to their music. So bias is everywhere, and it's important to identify it when you're doing research. So one way you can do that is by looking at domain names. So here's an activity, guess the domain. edu.edu. Anyone want to tell me what that is?
Educate.
Education, right. So you see .edu for universities and colleges. What about .com?
Computer.
No, not quite.
Computer is community.
Nope. Nope. .com, anyone?
It's community.
Community, compete.
Commercial, yeah. Oops. Commercial. I mean, when you go to a .com website, have you ever noticed any ads on the side or promoting a product or company? It's commercial. .org.
Organization.
Organization. Yeah, great. .gov. Government. Right. .mil.
That took a while.
Military.
Military. Very good. So the Department of Defense and stuff. So now looking at this, what might be a bias you could find? Let's start with .edu. What kind of bias might you find on a .edu website?
Games. Oh no, never mind.
Well, .edu is education. So you probably won't find that much bias on the .edu website, but there is one kind of bias you might find, and that's our university is so great. Probably so. That might be a little bit biased there. But .edu websites in general are pretty good for research. What about .com? What kind of bias might you find on a commercial website?
Anything.
Well,
No comment.
for one, if you see ads on the side, maybe they're being paid to post those ads or something, or also if, like let's say IM's Pet Food, they're promoting their own product. .org, organization ones also are pretty good ones to research, but they might say our organization is great or what our organization is trying to do is so great. Yeah, so, and government, if you go to the White House website, for instance, it's probably only going to say good things about the White House, but it would also be a good place to find information about like when it was built or something like that. .mil on a military website might be trying to recruit you, but yeah, in general, you will find the most bias probably on a commercial website, just because those are trying to sell you stuff or promote something. But definitely watch for bias in all of the websites that you go to. Some other ones I'd mention, .net stands for network. It's often used by internet service providers, web hosting companies, and it might also be a business. .biz is a small business website. .info is a resource website. So, tips for online research. Narrow your search trusted websites, investigate the author, investigate the website. unfamiliar equals more questionable, and use domain names to give you clues about content. So before I wrap up online research, I want to show you some resources. I know that you guys are doing career research. So what are some of the websites you guys have used so far?
We actually haven't started yet. We're just starting. We just finished
Oh,
up
okay.
another project, so today's like the first day with my other classes that we're starting.
Oh, great, great. Okay, so I actually found some websites. They were pretty good. This one was Career Kids, and it had, the reason I like this one, it has this super long list of all the careers, like from acupuncturist to auctioneer to cancer registrar. What the heck is that? Okay, like really weird stuff. I mean, have you guys ever imagined that you would want to be a dental laboratory technician? Anybody? Okay, or an exercise physiologist. So this has a ton of like the normal ones and also the really weird ones. So you can find big lists of all the ones, and I think if you click on it, it'll give you more information about that career. Another one is the College Board website. It has, so this one is organized a little more on, I think, majors that you might have in college and like what career that would be good for. Now, if you take a look at the College Board website, you'll notice it's a .com website. So what do you think is the College Board? What are they trying to do on their website?
Advertise.
They're probably trying to get you to come to their university.
They're persuading you. They're persuading you.
Yeah, the College Board might be persuading you to, for instance, go to a certain university. College Board website, you also see apply to college, pay for college, so find the college. Basically, they're trying to attract people to their website so that they can then direct them in these directions. So, and then the Career Kids, it's a .com website. You see also a brief ad on the top, so they are trying to, I think, sell stuff. You see store. So looking at .com websites, trying to figure out what their purpose is, and you can definitely find useful information on .com websites. So for instance, I click on computer and information science is that major, and I see all these careers that you have possibly after getting such a major. So .com websites can have useful information, but just be careful of and know what they're trying to do. Now, be sure that even after you've collected information, what you think are trustworthy sites, then you should also verify it, make sure it's right, and evaluate it. So take a look at the source, timeliness, bias, and purpose. We talked about bias, but also whether the writer is qualified to write on the subject. So investigate the author. Timeliness, was it updated recently? Bias, is it leaning in favor of one thing or another? And so just look for all of those things, and you'll be able to evaluate your source a little easier. Now, when using the web for research, be sure to get information that represents more than one perspective. It's really easy to just go to a website and just use only that website, but try to use a big variety of sources, both books and online. Ask yourself what they're trying to do, and once you've collected it, then you can start organizing and using it. Keep track of all the sources that you use. Maybe write down a text card or make a Word document that has the author, title, maybe website if you're using online. So create bibliographic notes for your eventual citing sources. And now citing your sources. Plagiarism is using another person's work without giving them credit. So that's why giving people credit is so important in a research paper. Always give your source for quotations. If you're copying and pasting something, put quotes around it, because that would be a quote. Summarize information, paraphrase information. If you're putting in your own words, or if you're kind of condensing it, facts that are not common knowledge. So for example, everyone knows that Obama is the President of the United States. You do not have to cite a source for that. But not everybody would know an obscure fact like, I don't know, a statue. I'm trying to think of an obscure fact. But anyway, if it's something that not everybody would know, then definitely you would need to cite that. Ideas, including opinions and thoughts about what particular facts mean. Let's say if somebody is analyzing a poem, you would need to cite that source if you were adding on to that or taking that analysis in your paper. Maps, charts, graphs, data, pictures, cite those. To avoid plagiarism, Obvious examples of plagiarism would be like copying classmates' lab report, buying an essay on the internet, copying a poem and claiming it as your own. So here's a tip. After you copy and paste something, put really big quotes around it just to remind yourself, I copied that. So, now that that is done, who would like to tell me one thing they've learned today? Hopefully something. As in, like, in this class.
Okay, Martin. I learned what a bias was.
You learned about what bias is?
Okay, Martin, what'd you say? Website resources. No, she can hear. It's just a little delay. Okay, say that really loud. Tell her what you just learned. Because I didn't know that until, I didn't know it was
Okay. And one more example, anyone? I'm hoping you learn more in that. Would anyone like to tell me what is a bibliography?
a list of resources.
A list of sources. Yeah. Okay. Good. Great. At least you. That's one good thing. So yeah, bibliographies. Use those when you're reading a book, and also on a website, check the sources. Those will help you understand whether the information is accurate, and also provides a roadmap for other resources you can take a look at. Now, question and answer time. If you have any questions you would like to ask, you can go ahead now.
What does .me mean?
.me? Yes, I am familiar with that. Let me look that up actually.
I never heard of that.
Like, yeah, .me is, okay, I'm pretty sure that is not it. Well, .me is apparently myalgic encephalomyelitis, which is characterized by a range of neurological symptoms. No, I'm pretty sure that's not what you're talking about. Let's see. What is .me? .me. The .me top-level domain is a new domain extension that represents you. Use the domain for your website, blog, photo album, or anything else that tells the world it's all about you. Oh, great. Just another thing that says it's all about me. I think we already have enough of that, actually. But anyway, yeah, so .me is like kind of a personal, use the domain for your website, blog, photo album, or anything else that tells the world it's all about you. If it's that kind of personal, like about you, maybe a collection of photos from a recent trip, that might be under .me. I don't think it's used that often, though. Any other questions?
Okay, Tatiana.
Where do you live?
Where do I live? I live in Redmond, Washington State, not too far away from you guys. Just hop over Oregon and you'll be with us. But yeah, and if you want more specific, this is my house, which is where I am right now. Yeah, I'm at my house. The downstairs in my house, actually. Yeah, so just to give you a tour. Yeah.
So big.
No, this is not my living room. This is the basement. But if you see over there, that's a refrigerator.
Houses still have basements?
Refrigerator.
So like, Washington, yeah. Is your basement your headquarters?
Yes! You know that sounds really like, I don't know, it makes me sound like a mafioso or something, like the basement is my headquarters, but yeah, pretty much. Like someone in the mafia.
Do you know
I think that's the word, isn't it?
You know how to play piano?
Do I know how to play piano? No, I don't. I know there's one right there, but I used to play piano, but my sister actually is the big piano player in her house. See, I was like playing in the same book for 3 years, and I just made no progress, and I was like, oh, I hate this, so. But for those of you who do play piano, stay with it, because don't look at me for a role model for anything except like jerks, because, yeah.
Hey, Martin. Oh. Just ask her. She can hear you.
I'm 12. Any other questions? Did someone just say, like, that's scary?
When
skip? Well, I'm in 8th grade right now, so you could say I skipped 7th. I go to an online public school, Washington Virtual Academy, so it's a little easier to take advanced classes. I'm also taking some high school classes in language arts and history, so yeah, I guess you could say I skipped a couple of grades. What I'm doing right now is I'm doing just at grade level work in math and science, but I'm taking high school classes for language arts and history, or social studies.
What are you?
What are you?
She's a girl. So like what race?
I'm sorry, that's an interesting
What
question.
ethnicity?
What ethnicity? Okay, yeah, I've never heard it as what are you? I was like resisting the temptation to say I'm a giant bullfrog. Can't you see that? But actually, no. If anyone watched like the premiere of Life on Discovery yesterday, that was really amazing to see about this giant bullfrog. But anyway, sorry, I'm going off topic. No, my mom's Chinese and my dad's American, so I guess that's like half Chinese.
Do you have any college looking at you?
Do I have
That's a
any
good question.
colleges looking at me? Unfortunately, no. Although I'm hoping for some to get interested. I think this is really unfair. Like, I mean, all the sports stars, they get like the people come to visit them, trying to recruit them for college. But if you're actually like smart, you have to apply and do all this work. Any other questions?
Oh. Did you hear that? That's a good question.
What?
Say it again. What level are you on Farmville?
What level am I in Farmville? Let me check. Let's see. Because I just jumped, I think I'm like the green giant or something, whatever level that is. I think I'm like, maybe, I am 20. Oh my, wow. Yeah, I'm level 20. This is my farm, everybody. Yeah, kind of disorganized.
Can I? Tatiana has a question. Go ahead.
Does your parents know you're doing that?
Do my parents? Yeah. They think it's ridiculous too. But see, I'm not obsessive about it. I only check it like every 5 days, so yeah, it's not a big part of my life. I will tell my parents who said hi. In fact, you can talk to my mom directly. She just came into the room. Let me see if I can swivel it over to her. Yeah, why don't you start a conversation? Oh, my mom looks more scared, I bet, than you are.
Hey, what y'all doing? What y'all laughing about?
Oh, but you know what? It's really funny. My mom and my sister complains about this a lot. Like when we bring friends over to our house, then our mom will start interrogating them. She'll ask lots of questions. And you wouldn't believe the weirdest thing. She's like trying to, I don't know, she really should have been a matchmaker or something because she keeps on demanding the marital status of every single person. So, yeah, kind of interesting. Oh, and by the way, speaking of online research and all that, if any of you are interested in learning more about me, I said speaking of online research and all that, if any of you are interested in learning more about me, you can visit my website, adoraspeetalk.com, and buy my books. Yeah, so adoraspeetalk.com, you can write that down. And I hope that you don't have too many more questions. I can take 2 more questions. Anybody?
Okay, 2 more questions. Okay, Nina? What's your book about? Oh, what's Flying Fingers about?
What's Flying Fingers about? Good question. Flying Fingers is 9 of my short stories as well as writing tips. So you have short stories, you have stuff about script writing, you have, it's a big smorgasbord of fiction, how to do kind of a mix. Yeah. And then my second book, Dancing Fingers, is a book of poetry. Ooh, I knocked some books over.
Okay. Wait, there's one more question. Who is going to ask it? I'm going to ask you. Okay, go ahead. You guys can ask that together. I have 2 girls who want to ask you. They make a business arrangement or something.
Can you be a personal tutor?
Can I be a personal tutor? Unfortunately, that would be a little hard to set up just because walk over your house every day. But you know what you can do? If you have like specific questions you'd like to ask, you can go to my website and there's a contact me form, and just mention that you were in this class, and I'll try to get back to you. So, yeah, you can definitely write to me.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Stop asking for that. She's too young to know. Hey, so yeah, I don't know boys when he's like that. You have a boyfriend and all that. You don't have to answer. Okay, I think I'm gonna see. We have Easter break coming up, so I'll probably see you 2 more times, like in April with my other classes. So I'm looking forward to that. So, and thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you everybody. It's been fun seeing you. And please, if you decide to friend me on Facebook, do send me gifts on Farmville. Really do. Yeah. I've been like campaigning for this pretty much every time I connect with 9th graders. Yeah, well, thank you very much, everybody. Hope you have a great day and enjoy doing your research.
Okay, bye.
Bye.